This would be 10 signs the church you're in is showing cult-like behavior. Number one, the leader becomes the voice of God. Your leader, male, female, whoever, pastor, whoever it is, becomes the voice of God. You come to him, you feel like you've heard from the Lord, and you bring it before him, and you say, I think the Lord is saying this, and this person looks at you and says, I'm not hearing that. In fact, I don't think you heard from the Lord. I don't think so. This doesn't sound like the Lord. Just run these things by me before you decide to say anything. Anything like that makes it look like literally, they're the last figure that you go to. In fact, they're basically putting themselves in the place of God and saying that, you're not hearing from God. I hear from God, but you're not. Red flag. Number two, isolation from outside voices. They become an island of their own. They're not concerned about what's going on outside of the church because they got their own thing going on. They become an island of their own. They don't submit to an authority. They don't. They're not looking at what's going on outside of their own church. They're not seeing what the signs of the time are. They're not in tune with that. That's a red flag. Performance-based acceptance. Based on what you do is how you get honored in that church. You work hard and then you get recognition for that hard work that you do. It's not based on you as a person, based on your character. It's not based on anything other than the fact you work your way into good graces with this person, with this leader, with this church. And it's all based on that. Red flag. Fear and intimidation. It's okay for them to do things, but when you do something, you get scolded for it. You get, a discipline for what you do, but they're able to do whatever they want. Again, a red flag. It's us versus them mentality. No other church has got this going on. No other denomination is hearing what we're hearing right here. This is straight from God and is coming straight to us. Others aren't hearing this. It's just us. Just this denomination, just this church, just this ministry. Again, red flag. Financial exploitation. Based on how much you give. They basically force you into it. They manipulate you to give more. They say that your grace with God, or your standing with God, is based on how much money you give. And it's all based around that. It's not biblical, guys. That is another red flag. They won't let you question because they're the final say. You bring a question to them, they're actually insulted by that. How dare you question me? I am the man or the woman of God and you're questioning me? No, we're not going to have that here. You keep those things to yourself. In fact, go home and think about that for a while. How we're just not going to have that here. Again, that's a red flag. Control of your personal decisions. You hear from God and God tells you something very important. And you really know beyond a shadow of doubt God is telling you this. And you bring it before them. And they let you know that, listen, that's not from God. Maybe you hear that you need to, that the Lord is calling you to a higher level, and He's telling you there's another ministry that needs you, and He's opening up all these doors for you, and you go sit down with your pastor or your leader, and you bring this before them, and they say, I don't think that's from God. It doesn't sound like from God at all. In fact, if you leave this ministry, you'll be outside of the covering, and your marriage will fall apart, your life's going to fall apart. You're going to be outside of the will of God. And that's the kind of answer you get when you know beyond a shadow of a doubt you heard from God, but yet they tell you, I didn't hear that. In fact, I think you'll be outside of the will of God. In fact, you will if you follow this. Again, another red flag. They lead with intimidation. They can't be they can't be corrected because they're the final say. They're the authority. They're everything. They're the final say. It can't be corrected. You bring it before them like, listen, I'm the man or I'm the woman of God. Don't mess with the anointing, the anointed of God. Come on, guys. It's a red flag. There's no fruit of the Spirit. Think about the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, long-suffering. You know, the nine fruit. You're not seeing that in that ministry. It's not there. Or you go to, bring something before them and it's not in love that they handle it, which is above all the number one fruit. Again, guys, red flag. And the reason I bring these things up are, if you're in a church right now and you feel like that there's some kind of a heaviness over you and you want to bring it to them and they won't even give you the decency of at least listening to what you have to say without it causing tension in the room. All these weird things. You go to make a decision and they tell you that, you know what, we're not going to do that. In fact, you do that and you're going to be outside of the will of God. We have our own Bible, guys. We have our own Bible and we have our own ability to study the Word. Don't let a ministry make it seem like the only option you have is to always go through them for everything. They should be training you up. They should be discipling you. They should be getting you prepared and sending you out, especially if you're called to do those things. They should be preparing you to move into your place with God, to follow out your God-given destiny. And if that church is not doing that, again, that's a red flag. And I recommend you start taking a look at maybe that's not the ministry you should be a part of. You should not feel like you can't leave without there being repercussions. That's wrong, and it's not biblical. And again, it's a definite red flag that you're in a cult-like or at least a mixture church. So hopefully this helps, guys. And I pray that your life is not controlled by such a ministry.